The last signal from the world of Elyra was never meant to reach anyone. For hundreds of years, the Elyrans had lived peacefully beneath silver skies and glowing oceans. Their cities stretched across crystal plains, powered by clean energy and guided by knowledge instead of war. They were explorers, teachers, and scientists. Weapons were almost unknown among them, because for generations they had never needed them. Then the Dominion arrived. From which city are you watching? Please tell us in the comments and subscribe to the channel. It takes us a whole day to create one video. If you don't support us, how will we be able to put in even better effort and create improved content in the future? Their fleet appeared without warning. Massive black warships emerged from deep space and surrounded the Elyran system. At first, the Elyrans believed it was a misunderstanding. They opened communication channels and offered trade, friendship, and diplomacy. The Dominion answered with orbital bombardment. Entire cities vanished in pillars of fire. Communication towers collapsed. Spaceports became burning ruins. Millions fled underground, while the skies turned red with smoke. The Elyrans fought back with everything they had. It was not enough. Their defense fleet was built for patrol and exploration, not war. One by one, their ships were destroyed. Within weeks, the Dominion controlled most of the planet. Inside the underground capital, the High Assembly gathered for what many believed would be their final meeting. Fear filled the chamber. Some leaders demanded surrender. Others argued for resistance. Neither option offered hope. Then an elderly scientist stepped forward, carrying a small data crystal. "We still have one possibility." The room fell silent. The crystal contained records from ancient explorers who had traveled farther than any Elyran before them. Among the forgotten files was information about a long-range emergency beacon, capable of transmitting across enormous distances. No one had ever used it. No one knew if it still worked, but it was the only chance they had left. Deep beneath the capital, technicians activated the ancient beacon. Dust-covered machines awakened after centuries of silence. Power surged through forgotten systems. The signal prepared itself for launch. The message was simple. "We are under attack. Our people face extinction. If anyone receives this signal, please help us." Nothing more. No politics. No explanations. Only a desperate cry from a dying world. The beacon fired. A pulse of energy shot into the darkness between stars. The Elyrans watched the monitors in silence. Most believed it would change nothing. Space was too large. Hope was too small. Yet even a dying flame can shine in darkness. The signal traveled for months, past abandoned systems, past drifting asteroids, past silent stars, across unimaginable distances, until finally it reached a small world orbiting an ordinary yellow star, Earth, at a deep space listening station hidden beneath the mountains of South America. Communications specialist Daniel Reyes noticed something unusual. A repeating pattern appeared on his screen. At first, he assumed it was interference. Then the computers began translating. Daniel stared at the words. His heart raced. He checked the data again and again. The result never changed. Someone was speaking. Someone beyond Earth. Within hours, the signal reached governments around the planet. Scientists confirmed its authenticity. Astronomers traced its origin. Military leaders studied every detail. For the first time in history, humanity faced undeniable proof that intelligent life existed among the stars. The world reacted with shock. News networks exploded with speculation. Cities held public gatherings. Religious leaders, scientists, politicians, and ordinary citizens debated the meaning of the discovery. But one question rose above all others. Should humanity answer? The debate lasted for days. Many argued that Earth should remain hidden. The message described a war. Helpen could place humanity in danger. Others believed ignoring the signal would betray everything humanity claimed to stand for. The discussions became global. Families talked about it during dinner. Workers discussed it in factories. Students argued about it online. Humanity was divided until a single recording changed everything. The distress message was broadcast publicly. People heard the fear in the alien voices, the desperation, the hopelessness. Suddenly, the debate became personal. This was no longer a political issue. Somewhere out there, real people were suffering. Millions of humans reached the same conclusion. If they were asking for help, someone should answer. That someone would be Earth. For the first time in history, nations cooperated on a project larger than themselves. The United Earth Command was formed. Military resources from every continent were combined. Engineers worked around the clock. Shipyards accelerated construction. Research laboratories shared technology that had once been secret. Humanity moved with a single purpose: answer the call. Months later, the first expedition fleet gathered in orbit. The ships looked nothing like elegant science vessels imagined in old fiction stories. They were enormous, heavy, built for survival. Their hulls carried rail cannons, missile batteries, drone launch systems, and defensive shields designed to endure impossible punishment. Human history had taught one lesson above all others. Hope alone was never enough. If humanity traveled across the stars, it would travel prepared. At the center of the formation floated the flagship Resolute. Its commander, Admiral Sophia Ward, stood on the bridge watching Earth below. Blue oceans, white clouds. The only home humanity had ever known. Thousands of crew members prepared for departure. Some were soldiers, others were engineers, doctors, scientists, and diplomats. All understood the risks. None stepped back. When the countdown reached 0, the fleet entered faster than light transit. Earth disappeared behind them. Ahead waited an unknown galaxy, an unknown enemy, and a world that had cried for help. On Elyra, meanwhile, the situation grew worse. Dominion forces tightened their control. Entire regions fell silent. Food, SUPPLIES, vanished. Hope faded. Many Elyrans believed the signal had been lost forever. Then one night, deep inside a ruined monitoring station, an operator detected something impossible, a transmission coming from beyond known space. The message contained only 7 words. "We received your call. Hold on." For the first time since the invasion began, the people of Elyra dared to believe that rescue might actually be coming. The message spread across Elyra faster than any rumor in history. "We received your call. Hold on." Only 7 words. Yet those 7 words carried more hope than entire years of resistance. People repeated them in shelters, ruined streets, and underground bunkers. Parents whispered them to frightened children before sleep. Soldiers scratched them onto damaged armor. For the first time since the invasion began, the future seemed uncertain. in a good way. The Dominion noticed the change immediately. Their commanders could not understand why a defeated population suddenly seemed less afraid. Recon drones intercepted fragments of unusual communications, unknown signals, unknown transmissions, unknown ships approaching the system. The Dominion High Commander ordered additional fleets to Elyra. He expected a small rescue mission. Perhaps a handful of idealistic explorers. Perhaps merchants, foolish enough to interfere. He did not expect humanity. Days later, long-range sensors across the system detected multiple spatial distortions near the outer edge of the star system. The readings were enormous, far larger than anything the Elyrans had ever recorded. Operators checked their instruments repeatedly. The numbers remained unchanged. Something massive was arriving. Then the stars themselves seemed to bend. One by one, human warships emerged from faster-than-light transit. The fleet stretched across space like a moving continent of steel. Hundreds of vessels, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, support ships, medical ships, construction ships, a complete civilization crossing the stars. The first thing the Elyrans noticed was not the size of the ships, it was their formation. Every vessel moved with perfect coordination. No confusion, no hesitation, only discipline. A transmission immediately followed. "This is Admiral Sophia Ward of the United Earth Command. We have arrived in response to your distress signal. You are under our protection." Across Elyra, people stood frozen. Some cried, some laughed. Many simply stared at the sky. For months they had prepared themselves for extinction. Now an impossible future stood before them. The Dominion fleet reacted differently. Their commander viewed the incoming force and smiled. He had conquered dozens of civilizations. Every species believed they were special. Every species believed they could resist. Every species eventually surrendered. He ordered an attack. Without warning, Dominion battleships opened fire. Energy beams crossed the darkness and raced toward the newly arrived human fleet. The first battle had begun. On the bridge of the Resolute, Admiral Ward watched calmly as tactical displays filled with enemy movements. Her officers worked with practiced precision. No panic, no fear. Humanity had spent thousands of years fighting wars. The battlefield might have changed. The principles had not. Activate defensive formations. Orders spread instantly through the fleet. Energy shields ignited. Drone squadrons launched. Missile systems armed. The first Dominion attack slammed into the human front line. Explosions flashed across space. Several ships suffered damage. None broke formation. Then humanity answered. Thousands of missiles erupted from launch tubes simultaneously. The darkness lit up with trails of fire. Rail cannons fired. Massive tungsten projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Drone swarms spread outward like metallic storms. The Dominion commander watched in disbelief. This was not how weaker species fought. Most civilizations relied on defensive tactics. Most civilizations waited. Most civilizations reacted. Humans attacked. Aggressively. Relentlessly. Unexpectedly. Within minutes, the first Dominion cruiser vanished in an expanding sphere of light. Then another. Then another. Across Elyra, civilians watched battle feeds provided by Earth. The impossible was happening. The invaders were losing. The Dominion attempted to regroup. Their larger battleships advanced. Fighter formations launched in overwhelming numbers. The commander intended to crush humanity through superior firepower. It had always worked before. Humanity adapted immediately. Drone squadrons disrupted enemy formations. Missile barrages forced Dominion ships into predictable movement patterns. Railgun strikes targeted command vessels. Every action served a purpose. Every sacrifice created an advantage. The battle expanded across millions of kilometers. Space itself seemed alive with explosions. Hours passed. Human ships were damaged. Some were destroyed. Crew members died. But every loss strengthened human determination. The Dominion expected fear. Instead, they encountered resolve. Inside one damaged destroyer, engineers continued repairs while fires burned around them. Medical teams treated wounded personnel without stopping. Weapons crews reloaded launch systems, even as alarms echoed through the corridors. Nobody considered surrender. Nobody discussed retreat. Humanity had come because someone asked for help. Leaving was never an option. The turning point arrived when Dominion reinforcements entered the system. Fresh battleships emerged from hyperspace. The enemy commander smiled. At last, victory seemed certain. Then, long-range sensors detected another anomaly. More ships, many more. Human reinforcements. Earth had not sent a rescue mission. Earth had sent an armada. New vessels entered the battlefield from multiple directions. The Dominion suddenly found itself surrounded. For the first time in decades, their commander felt genuine fear. He finally understood his mistake. Humanity had not traveled across the stars to observe. Humanity had come to win. Admiral Ward studied the updated tactical display. The moment had arrived. She gave a single order. Advance! The entire United Earth fleet surged forward. Missiles flooded space. Rail cannons thundered. Drone swarms overwhelmed defensive systems. Dominion formations collapsed under the pressure. One carrier exploded. Then a battleship. Then an entire attack group disappeared beneath concentrated fire. The enemy line shattered. Retreat signals spread through Dominion communications. Panic followed. What began as an organized withdrawal quickly became a desperate escape. Human vessels pursued them beyond the orbit of Elyra. By the end of the battle, the Dominion fleet no longer existed as an effective fighting force. The survivors fled into deep space. The invasion was over. Silence returned to the system. For several minutes, nobody spoke. Not on Earth, not on Elyra, not even aboard the fleet. Everyone simply stared at the tactical displays. The threat was gone. Against all expectations, a dying civilization had survived. Then celebrations erupted. Across Elyra, crowds filled the streets. People embraced strangers. Children laughed openly for the first time in months. Families reunited. The sound of hope returned to the planet. A few days later, representatives of both worlds met face to face. The meeting took place in the remains of Elyra's capital city. Many buildings still stood damaged. Scars of war remained everywhere. Yet life had returned. That mattered more. When Admiral Ward entered the council chamber, every Elyran representative rose to their feet. Not out of fear, out of respect. One elder stepped forward. His voice trembled slightly. You crossed the stars for people you had never met. Why? The room fell silent. Humans and Elyrans waited for the answer. Admiral Ward looked around the chamber, at the damaged walls, at the exhausted survivors, at the future they had saved together. Then she spoke. Because one day, long ago, humanity learned an important lesson. The room listened carefully. We learned that suffering becomes easier when someone stands beside you. When your message reached Earth, you stopped being strangers. You became people who needed help. The elder lowered his head. Many in the chamber fought back tears. For a civilization abandoned by the galaxy, those words meant everything. In the months that followed, human engineers helped rebuild cities. Doctors established hospitals. Scientists shared technology. Farmers restored damaged ecosystems. Soldiers remained to defend the system. An alliance formed stronger than either side expected. News of the battle spread rapidly across known space. Other civilizations heard the stories. Some refused to believe them. Others investigated personally. Every report confirmed the same truth. A new power had entered the galaxy. Not conquerors, not empire builders, not tyrants. Something far more unusual. A species willing to fight for worlds that were not their own. A species willing to answer when others called. Far away, hidden within the surviving territories of the Dominion, leaders gathered in fear. Their greatest fleet had been destroyed, their reputations shattered, and somewhere beyond the stars stood a civilization unlike any they had ever faced. A civilization forged by storms, disasters, conflict, and survival. A civilization that refused to abandon the weak. They knew another war would come someday. Humanity knew it too. But neither Earth nor Elyra feared the future anymore. Because when darkness had arrived, they had faced it together. And throughout the galaxy, a new saying slowly began to spread from world to world. If you are alone, call for help. If humanity hears you, they will come. And if humanity comes, hope comes with them.